All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to show you guys how to get this wheel bearing out with the liquid wrench. All right. Now let that Now, if you all can hear that noise, that creaking, noise, since you have two different metals here, it's because you have an aluminum spindle and you have a metal wheel bearing, and as it heats up, the steel is going to open, expand, and it's going to, any of the like corrosion, rust, all that junk that's keeping the wheel bearing from coming out, it's going to expand. And once this cools off, that wheel bearing will come out. And you take a hammer and smack it right out of there. So I've got to let it cool a few minutes, but you can hear the creaking noise. There it is. for you guys tuning in, heating this wheel bearing up, and basically it's stuck in the aluminum spindle. We have a steel bearing, and steel and aluminum don't get along too well. So if you heat it up, it'll help get the wheel bearing out. And right now, it's already been heated up. That's why you're seeing the smoke. So once it cools off, I'm gonna take a hammer on the back side here, and I'll just smack that wheel bearing right out of there. Yeah, if you guys have ever done one of these wheel bearings, you'll know how hard they can be to get out. And a torch is always your best friend, good old liquid wrench. But I'll even show you guys something really crazy. Let me grab my thermal camera. So the reason they use aluminum blocks and stuff like that is because aluminum dissipates heat so well. So if you look at the camera, you can see how red the wheel bearing is. We're at 500 degrees. Now look at the aluminum. It's almost 120 degrees cooler. I'm in the Salt Belt too. I'm in Virginia, northern Virginia, close to West Virginia. We get a lot of salt. Anyway, I'm in the Salt Belt. I use MAP gas and a C-clamp. Oh, Chicago, that's even worse. Good Lord. But a C-clamp and MAP gas, I've never tried that. So I have oxygen acetylene torches here, and I've got the rosebud tip on the torch, and that really gets it hot. I mean, I think I spent the first couple minutes here getting this thing nice and warmed up, but I've actually had them on a salt truck. It was actually a plow truck in West Virginia that was so rusty. I have a 65-pound slide hammer that would not take the wheel bearing out of the spindle. I had to heat the spindle up until it was cherry red to get it out. I'll even show you guys the comparison between the two slide hammers. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to mess the control, or I call them spindles. Yeah, control arm, same thing, kind of. But yes, let me show you guys the difference between a normal slide hammer and my big slide hammer. So, this here is your typical slide hammer kit. And this right here, this is your Mac Daddy slide hammer. So that is a 65-pound slide hammer, and that is a 5-pound slide hammer. This is what you use to get the wheel bearings out on big trucks. Now, this guy is so heavy that a lot of times, well, one, to keep the slide hammer from moving on you, they put a locking pin here. That's your slide. Now, I got this on Amazon for 175 bucks with an additional adapter. That is a Blue Point snap-on slide hammer. And yeah, a lot of times this is too thick to actually mount on most hubs. Typically for dualies and trucks, you use this to get a wheel bearing out. But anyway, those things, if you try it, you can't even buy them on a tool truck anymore. These guys are like $1,100. I got it on Amazon for $177 or something, $175. I got it back in like 2019 or 2020. It's great though for doing wheel bearings on like Dodge, on a lot of Dodges. As long as the it'll mount up. But this here is your typical slide hammer set. So this would go on the flange of, that would go on the flange here, like that. And that's how you pull the wheel bearing out. The big one here, same thing you would do with that. But you can see a noticeable difference between these two slide hammers. They also have hub shockers, hub tamers, other things like that you can use to get the wheel bearings out. But I found these things just beat the crap out of you. That guy works really great, but like I said, the adapter's a little thick. So, that guy should be cooled off enough. Oh yeah, look. You can even see now this thing, just from heating it up, there's a crack between the wheel bearing and the spindle. It's already started to walk its way out. Look at this. I can stick a pocket screwdriver in here, look. That's what heat does. That's why we heat things up. Look at that. That's how easy you can get a wheel bearing out with some heat. This is a tiny little pocket screwdriver. Look at this. That's how you do things right. No need to beat things up. I was gonna use a hammer, but it looks like I'm gonna use my pocket screwdriver today. Look at that. Now that's a first. All right, let's see if I can try not to burn myself. There we go. That's how you get a wheel bearing out of an aluminum spindle. See all that crud in there? All this in here? That's what that heat does. Look at that. All that is now dry, and that's why the wheel bearing didn't want to come out. But by heating that metal up, it expands all this junk, and that's why it comes out so easy if you heat it up. That's incredible. I've never had a wheel bearing come out that easy unless it was on a new car. So for you, some of you new guys tuning in, if you know about automotive stuff, that's my big 65-pound slide hammer. And then there's the little guy, but we didn't even have to use that. We just used this to get it out. So anyway, now what I like to do is clean the hub up on the inside. Get a wire bristle. There we go. As you can see, clean up the face of that. Now, Now, if you want that wheel bearing to come out even easier, the next time you have to do one, get a little bit of red and tacky grease and put it all on the inside here. That red and tacky grease has a really high temperature base, so even if the wheel bearing does start to go bad and it gets hot on you, then this is gonna leave a nice little light coating of grease on here to keep that wheel bearing from getting seized up the next time. There we go. A little bit of grease on there, and that'll come out much easier, and it's also gonna help the other wheel bearing go in easier. And then something else I like to do is, I'm not gonna touch that wheel bearing because I just got it really hot, but you can take, what I like to do, especially if you're on the rust belt, you get a lot of rust from road salt and things like that. Clean up your hub really good before you put your brake rotors on and put a light coating of grease around where the hub sits on from the wheel, right on the wheel bearing there. And just put a light coating of grease all the way around that. Also put it on the rotor when you're done on the outside. And that's gonna keep your wheels from getting stuck, keep your rotors from getting stuck to the wheel bearing hub, make your life so much easier. But there we go. I'm now waiting for parts to show up, but thank you guys for tuning in. And please, if you can, like and subscribe to the channel if you like automotive stuff. We got repair stuff. Also go to car shows and help out with some guys working on some like really nice high-end cars, Porsches and things like that. So stay tuned, and there'll be plenty more content to come.